Before we go on, this is just for education and entertainment. What you're about to read is from a federal courtroom, word for word, reported by Inner City Press. Day 12 of Diddy's trial was supposed to be simple. More paperwork, more legal stuff. But then something unexpected happened. Eddie Murphy walked into the courtroom from a side door. Everyone in the room reacted. Reporters sat up straight. The jury leaned forward. Diddy stopped moving. No one knew Eddie was going to speak. Not the media, not most of the lawyers. But what he said shocked everyone. Eddie began by saying, "I've been silent for years, but after what I saw, I couldn't stay in Hollywood. And I've carried that weight ever since." He looked calm, dressed in a sharp suit, but his eyes told a different story, like he had seen something he could never forget. The judge asked him to say his name. He did. Then he looked straight at Diddy and said something no one expected. "I left Hollywood because I saw things I couldn't unsee." He wasn't loud. He didn't need to be. Everyone in the courtroom was already listening closely. Eddie said it started in 2006. His career was on fire again. He was getting big offers, new deals, award buzz. His phone wouldn't stop ringing. Then one night, he got a call from a big-name producer. There was a private party happening in the Hollywood Hills. No public invite, just one of those quiet events where powerful people gather. Eddie had heard about these before. Everyone in the industry had. These were the famous invite-only parties hosted by Diddy. No phones, no cameras, just enjoy the experience, they were told. Eddie thought it would be just music, drinks, people showing off. But when he arrived, he knew something wasn't right. The house was huge. The gate only opened after scanning his fingerprint. Valets in black suits took his phone. They handed him a small card. It said, "Tonight, be who you really are." Inside, it wasn't lively. It was quiet. Too quiet. Like a church. But not in a peaceful way. In a creepy way. He saw people he knew. Famous actors, athletes, studio heads. But they weren't partying. They were standing around like they were being watched. Everyone seemed careful, not relaxed. Then he saw a man in a robe and a woman in heels walk silently down a hallway. That's when he knew something strange was going on. Eddie said that's when Diddy appeared. He walked up to Eddie like they were old friends. He put his arm around him and said, "Brother, it's about time you came home." At first Eddie smiled, but then it hit him. Diddy didn't mean Hollywood. He meant this place, this party. Diddy started walking him through the house. He wasn't showing off the furniture or the artwork. He was showing off the people, pointing and saying things like, "That guy just greenlit a $200 million movie. Or that one does whatever I say now." Then they stopped in front of a heavy wooden door. Diddy looked at Eddie and said, "This is where the real choices happen. You want to stay funny and broke? Or do you want to level up?" Eddie thought it was a joke. He laughed. But Diddy didn't laugh. He just stared, waiting. Through a crack in the door, Eddie saw a camera tripod. Not hidden, just standing there. He saw people go into that room nervous, and come out either smiling like they won something, or looking like something inside them was gone. Eddie didn't go in. He said he needed a drink. Diddy just smiled and said, "No rush. We're all family here." Then he walked away. That was the moment Eddie knew. This wasn't a party, it was something else. Like an invitation to join a club, or maybe something worse. When Eddie tried to leave, a woman stopped him. She handed him a drink and asked, "You're not done yet, are you?" The phrase "the experience" kept echoing in his head. He went back into the lounge, trying to stay calm. What happened next stayed with him forever. He said a group of people were taken to a back room. The lights were low. There were candles and red curtains. A long table with silver trays sat in the middle. Diddy stood at the front of the room. "Tonight's about how far you'll go," he said. "Because greatness doesn't come cheap. You want to run Hollywood? Show me." One of the trays was placed in front of Dwayne Johnson. Yes. When asked in court, Eddie didn't want to say his name at first. But the lawyer pushed, and he confirmed it. A man in gloves opened the tray. Inside were raw monkey brains. Still warm. Some people laughed nervously. Some looked away. Diddy said, "Come on, Rock. You eat that and the roll is yours." Eddie said. Dwayne hesitated. Then ate it. Diddy clapped like he was proud. "That's what I'm talking about," he said. Then he looked at the rest of the group. "Who's next?" Eddie said he just froze. He felt sick. Then Diddy came up to him and said, "You ready, preacher boy?" Eddie said, "I didn't come here for this." Diddy leaned in and whispered, "Then why are you here?" The courtroom was dead silent. Eddie said he left the room, not running, just walking, with purpose. He wasn't scared of what they'd do to him. He was scared of what they were doing to others. As he walked away, Diddy called out, "You'll be back when you're ready to really make it." Eddie never went back. And after that, things changed. He stopped getting roles. Projects he had already signed got canceled. Directors stopped calling. His agent dropped him without warning. One producer told someone else, "He's not aligned anymore." Eddie looked at the jury and said, "Aligned with what exactly?" "Aligned with monkey brains. Aligned with this madness." He said he never worked in Hollywood the same way again. That night changed everything, and he never spoke about it until now. He wasn't angry when he spoke. His voice was steady, calm, but behind that calm was something deeper, a kind of sadness that couldn't be hidden. "They didn't have to fire me, they didn't have to cancel me," Eddie said. "They just stopped calling. That's how the real blacklist works," he explained. "You don't hear it happening, you just feel the silence." Eddie tried to keep working. He wrote scripts, pitched shows, did voiceover work. People smiled in meetings, said all the right things. But nothing moved forward. Nothing stuck. It felt like he was always just outside the door, never allowed in. Then he said something that made the whole courtroom stop. "You don't have to sell your soul in Hollywood. But if you don't, they'll make sure the world believes you never had one to begin with." When asked directly if he believed he was blacklisted, Eddie didn't pause. He said yes. And he didn't say it for attention. He said it quietly, clearly. He explained that it doesn't happen with a big announcement. No one says, "Don't hire this person." It happens in private dinners, quiet phone calls, secret meetings. Someone whispers, "He's a problem now." After the party, Eddie said, his name changed meaning. It used to open doors, now it shut them. One top executive even told a friend. Eddie didn't pass the test. When asked what that meant, the answer was simple. He said no when he was supposed to say yes. That's all it took, one no. And the doors didn't slam shut, they just never opened again. His team shrunk. People who once chased him for projects disappeared. Studios said we're going a different way, or blamed budgets. He watched it all fade slowly. He sent pitches, got no replies, took meetings, then never heard back. He started to wonder if it was just bad luck. But then he heard the whispers, the quiet comments behind closed doors. The prosecution showed an email from a studio where his name was next to the words, "Not aligned, Pat." Eddie leaned into the mic and said something that hit hard. Hollywood's blacklist doesn't come with a warning. It comes with a smile. It shakes your hand while it erases you. He said that after refusing to be part of those parties and walking out, he was seen as difficult, ungrateful, a risk. But it wasn't an accident. It was the system working exactly the way it was designed. Then came the moment no one saw coming. The moment that made everyone in the room sit up. "There's a list," Eddie said. "Not written down, but everyone knows it. The people you don't speak against. The ones you can't question, because if you do, you're gone." The judge warned him not to guess. Eddie replied, "I'm not guessing. I lived it." He said Diddy was on that list. Tyler Perry, Oprah. She didn't just know about it, he added. She helped shape it. The jury shifted. Reporters started typing like mad. Eddie explained the list isn't something you see. It's a line you're not allowed to cross. Speak against someone on it, and your name gets passed around. But not because you did anything wrong. Just because you talk. People who never went to those parties still protected Diddy, he said. Not because they were involved, but because their success depended on staying quiet. Tyler Perry knew, he said. Others knew. They didn't need to join the darkness. They just needed to look the other way. Someone once told Eddie, "You're crossing the line. They don't come back for people who cross it." That person used to be a friend. They haven't spoken since. Eddie gave the court emails, texts, call logs, proof that people who once supported him vanished after the night of the party. He said no one tells you they're cutting you off. They just stop replying. You go from must-have to maybe later. Then he said something even heavier. You think Diddy did all this alone? He didn't. He had help. He had protection. He had a whole network. He looked at the jury. This isn't just about that party. It's about how many people helped cover it up. How many people signed checks to keep it quiet. How many built their careers while others were pushed out. Then he got personal. The prosecutor asked how all of this affected him. Eddie paused. Then he said, "It broke me. Not all at once, bit by bit." He said the work didn't stop suddenly. It faded. He didn't talk to anyone about it, not even close friends. Because even if they believed me, he said they'd be next. He described long days alone, sitting in silence, thinking about that night. Not about what happened to him, but about what he saw happen to others. The fear, the fake smiles, the feeling of being trapped. His kids saved him. Hearing them laugh in another room reminded him of what was real. He leaned into faith, not for image, but to survive. I stopped asking God why, he said. I started asking him when. He said he got therapy, spiritual help, because even though he walked away, a part of him stayed stuck in that house. I kept wondering if I should have done more. Should I have pulled someone out with me? He looked at Diddy, but I know now the worst thing I could have done was stay quiet. When asked why he never did an interview or wrote a book, Eddie said something that shook the courtroom. Because the people who own the microphones are the same people who own the secrets. Then came the question that wrapped everything up. Why now? Why speak today? Eddie let the question hang in the air, then answered because the walls are finally falling. I'm not the only one talking anymore. For the first time people are listening. He said when he heard Cassie speak and then Monique and even the old Prince recording that warned about this very thing, he knew he couldn't stay silent anymore. I'm not doing this to destroy Diddy, he said. I'm doing this so no one else has to be built up by him. The judge called for a break. When Eddie stood, the entire courtroom stood with him, not because they had to, but because something had changed. When court started again, there was a different feeling in the room. Then came the final question. What's the most important thing people should remember from your testimony? Eddie took a breath, leaned in. Hollywood doesn't run on talent. It runs on submission. You could hear a pin drop. He said Diddy's parties weren't some dark secret. They were part of a machine. A system that survives because people are too scared to fight it. I saw people turn into puppets. I saw grown men eat monkey brains just to get a part in a movie. And the ones pulling the strings? They were the ones laughing the loudest. He looked at Diddy. This man didn't build an empire. He built a trap. And most of us thought we were climbing when we were really falling. He looked back at the jury. I should have said something sooner, but I'm saying it now. Because what's done in the dark is finally being seen. Then came the line that went viral before court even ended. Don't protect the pretty lie. Let the truth be ugly. He stood up. The judge thanked him. Diddy said nothing. And Eddie Murphy, once the biggest name in comedy, had just delivered the most serious truth of his life. And maybe, just maybe, changed everything.